Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to go over to Thunder Valley Casino and play a little 1-3 action over there. They've been getting some pretty good games from the people I talked to. So let's go ahead and hop right in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. I could sure use your support. Okay, first hand of the day, we look down at two black kings. We have one limper in front of us, so we raise to 21. The big blind and the limper put in the call, so we go three ways to the flop. The flop is king 7 deuce with 2 hearts. And when it gets checked to me, I go ahead and just put out a bet for $30. I don't expect anyone to have anything. I got all the kings locked up, and they both fold. So we win our first pot of the day. All right, our next hand we have ace queen offsuit. It gets limped in front of me. So I make it 15, and the button and the early limper put in the call. So we go three ways to a flop. Flop is king jack jack with 2 clubs. So it gets checked to me. I check it. It gets checked around. The turn card comes as a 6 of hearts. It gets checked to me again. I put out a little stab here just to see if anyone has anything. I don't want to give any more free cards if I'm ahead. And the opening limper goes ahead and puts in the call. I'm putting him on a strong hand right here, either a king or a jack. And when the 4 hearts comes on the end, he thinks for a little bit and then puts out a bet of $25. This is a value bet all day long. So I go ahead and just release my hand. And he ends up showing that he had ace jack. So he was limping under the gun with ace jack. We pick up ace queen offsuit again. Open for a raise to 15, and we end up getting 2 callers. So we go through way to a flop of ace 7-5 with 2 spades. It gets checked to me. I go ahead and bet 25, and I end up getting 1 caller. The turn card comes as a deuce of hearts. He checks, and I check it back for deception. When the river card comes as a king, even though it makes a possible flush, I decided to go ahead and bet out here, hoping that he has a raggedy ace and thinks he can call down, but he quickly folds. All right, we look at ace jack offsuit under the gun. So we decided to open for a raise to 12. Normally I don't really play ace jack in this position offsuit, but we're short-handed, so I decided to put it in my range. Anyway, I get 2 callers, and the flop comes queen 10-6 with 2 diamonds. I got the ace of diamonds, and I got shot with an overcard, so I go ahead and lead at it for 16, and I get 1 caller. This call usually indicates he's on some sort of draw, or maybe second pair, or he could have an open ender. So when the turn card comes as a 10, I figure if he doesn't have a 10, it's going to be really hard for him to call a bet here. So I go ahead and make a bet of 45, 2/3 pot, and he decides to put in the raise. So once he decides to put in the raise, I'm done with the hand. I just think about it for a while, try to save some face, making it think like it's a tough decision. But right here, I'm no unbeat, and I might even be drawing dead. I put him on like a 10 of diamonds with a flush draw, and if he had a hand like king 10 of diamonds, I would be in the world of hurt right now. So after acting like I was interested for a while, I just decided to fold the hand, and he ends up showing a 10 after I fold. The player under the gun opens for a min raise to 7, and so when it comes around to me on the button with 2 jacks, I decide to raise to 21, and he calls. So we go heads up to the flop, which comes ace 5-3. He checks it to me, And with a pair of jacks and a backdoor flush draw, I'm going to go ahead and lead with this. He puts in a min check raise, and I'm thinking that I'm beat here. But for $20, if I pick up a club or get lucky enough to hit a jack, I can get his whole stack. So I go ahead and put the call in. Turn card comes as a red 8, and he just leads out for $100, and I'm done with the hand. We just move over into a new seat, look down at Queen Jack of clubs. Someone opened for a raise to 15. I go ahead and call for 15. Flop comes Queen high. They end up betting 20. I go ahead and call. I check to him again on the turn, and this time they bet 40. I only have about $80 behind after I call the 40. So I was thinking about either just jamming here or flatting. I think the correct play would be to jam. I know it folds out a lot of his bluffs, but if he has any kind of draw, he might call off. So anyway, I just end up calling. I think it's a mistake. I think the proper play would be to jam here. The river card comes up, makes a possible flush. I check it, and he rolls over a pair of tens. After several limpers, I look down at 2 queens in the big blind and raise it to 23. And I end up getting 3 callers for the 23. So we go 4 ways to a flop. When the flop comes 6-5 deuce, all diamonds, I go ahead and check this. I don't like these monotone boards when I have overs, especially if I don't have the queen of diamonds in my hand. Anyway, a player out back goes ahead and bets $20. For $20, I'll go ahead and take one off. The player behind me now check raises to $100. It's a very strong move, usually indicates a very powerful hand, and there's no way I can call this check raise, and the original bettor folds, and I quickly fold behind him. The very next hand, I pick up ace-king in the small blind. Same scenario, a bunch of limpers. I put in a raise to 21. And we get a whole bunch of callers. So we go 4 ways to the flop. The flop comes jack 10 deuce with 2 spades. I go ahead and lead at this, trying to get the riffraff out. The player to my left thinks a while before he puts in the call. I think he has a weak hand. The next player is short on chips. He has probably about $50 behind, and he puts in the call. So when the turn card comes as a 5 of clubs, I go ahead and put in a good sized bet here, trying to get the player in between me and the short stack to fold. If he has, second pair or worse, I don't see how he can call. So he can only really be calling here with a jack or a big draw. So either have straight draw, flush draw, or a pair of jacks. And he goes ahead, and after thinking for quite a bit, he goes ahead and puts in the call for the 80. As I said, I put him on like a flush draw, straight draw, or pair of jacks. The other short stack goes ahead and puts in his remaining $13, so we're going to have a little side pot here. And when the river card comes as a 9 of spades, it hits the straight draw, hits the flush draw, and I just go ahead and surrender and check it. And he checks back, and I told him I had ace high, and he shows over deuce 3 for a pair of deuces to win the side pot. The player who was all in had king queen, and he won the main. This next hand, I have ace deuce of diamonds. I open for a raise, and I get 4 callers. The flop comes ace high with 2 clubs and 1 diamond. So much check to me. I make a small continuation bet, and basically everyone but one person calls, so we have 4-way action going to the turn. The turn card comes as a 7 of clubs, probably the worst card in the deck for my hand. It gets checked to the person in the middle position. He looks like he wants to check it, but then he decides he's just going to fire. I'm pretty sure he has a flush at this point. The player behind me makes a quick call, so he either has a flush or maybe a 7. And the other player, he mucks his hand. He lit or said he had an ace in his hand. The player in middle position goes ahead and shows that he has a flush. And the dealer tells him to take his cards back. And the river card comes as an ace. And he shows him again. And now the player next to me goes ahead and bets $100. I'm pretty sure he has a 7 in his hand. Anyway, the person with the 5 deuce of clubs is rather upset that he showed his cards and rather upset that he got rivered. Anyway, after steaming for a little bit, he ends up folding the hand, and we move on to the next one. All right, this next hand I was in the big blind. Someone raised to $7. So I go ahead and call with king deuce suited. So we go 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace 10 8 with the ace of diamonds. And the original raiser puts in a small bet for $10. And I go, I'm going to take one off just in case I catch a dream card. And sure enough, the jack of diamonds comes on the turn. So now I got a nut flush draw and a gut shot draw. So I'm not going anywhere. He bets 15, I call, and the 2 players behind me call. So I'm hoping for a diamond here so I can get stacks in. And perfect card on the river is a 3 of diamonds. I go ahead and check it. The next 2 players check it, and the person on the button goes ahead and makes a very quick bet for $55. I think he has some sort of hand here, so I'm going to go ahead and shove all in. So I move my chips in, and the other 2 players fold pretty quickly, and the player in middle position calls very quickly. And I turn over my king deuce of diamonds, and he ends up showing queen 10 of diamonds. So a little bit of a cold deck for him. On this next hand, I was in the blind, and I go ahead and raise the limpers to 23, and I get 2 callers. The flop comes king, queen, 4. And it's not my favorite flop in the world. So I go ahead and check it. I know it's sort of weak, but with 2 players behind me and being out of position, I can't get too rambunctious with this. It gets checked around, so I feel pretty good about my hand, especially when the queen comes up. I figured anyone with a king would have fired, and anyone with a queen probably might have fired away, so I'm thinking I'm good here like all the time. So I take a stab, and it's good. This following hand is an example that some of the players know I've been playing fast all day, and they're starting to play back at me because I've been putting in a lot of raises. In this particular hand, a player limps, and when it gets to me on the button, I raise with ace 5 of hearts. And when it gets back around to him, he goes ahead and puts the limp re-raise into 60. His stack isn't big enough for me to, fight with it, so I let it go. A couple hands later, I pick up 2 queens, open for a raise again, end up getting 2 callers. Flop comes king 3, 10 with 2 diamonds. I go ahead and just lead out for about 1/3 pot, and both players quickly fold. This is a very interesting hand. I'm on the button. I have 2 3 of diamonds. It gets limped around to me, so I go ahead and limp. And the person in the small blind now raises to 21. And we get 4 callers, including myself. So we go 5 ways to the flop. I like this hand against overpairs because when you hit it, no one expects it. And the person who has an overpaired usually feels pretty safe. Anyway, I get the dream flop on this thing. It comes 5-3-3 with 2 hearts. The first player now leads out for $75 like he would with just about all his overpairs. Everyone else folds and it comes around to me. And here I'm just going to go ahead and flat. He's going to probably put me on some sort of flush draw because he's probably definitely not putting me on a 3 here. So I go ahead and make the call for the 75. Turn card is perfect. It's a deuce. Another safe card for someone with an overpairs. He bets out 100. Now I'm debating between raising here and just flatting. I'm afraid that if a flush card comes, he might shut down. But I think that he's a good enough player. If I put in a raise here, he's going to know I have him beat. So I just go ahead and flat. And now he checks to me and he flashes that he has a pair of 10s. And I just quickly jam, trying to make it look like I'm on a missed flush draw. And he starts talking to me, asking me if I have an overpair. And of course, I'm not saying anything. And he's thinking for a while. Now, he's a solid player, and I'm sure that he's thinking that I'm on a missed flush draw. And even though he showed me he had a pair of 10s, he's just figuring out the math right now, the probability of me having a missed draw. I've been very splashy today at the tables. I've been playing a lot of hands, playing them aggressively, betting and then folding. I got caught bluffing once in the earlier hand. So I'm thinking he's going to end up putting the chips in here. So after the dealer counts out all the chips and after he thinks for a little bit longer, he finally decides on a call, which was very happy for me to hear that. So I go ahead and show him the bad news that I have the 3 deuce of diamonds, and he ends up mucking his hand. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. Have a happy holidays and a happy new year if I don't see you before then. Take care.